Justice Department has this new fund that Justice Department has this new fund that
All right, this is weird. Okay, let's reload this.
Justice Department has this new fund that was announced today, $1.7 billion.
Yeah.
Why should taxpayers pay for the January 6th?
Well, it's been very well received, I have to tell you. I know very little about it. I wasn't involved in the whole creation of it and the negotiation. But this is reimbursing people that were horribly treated. It's anti-weaponization. They've been weaponized. They've been, in some cases, imprisoned wrongly. They paid legal fees that they didn't have. They've gone bankrupt. Their lives have been destroyed. And they turn out to be right. I mean, it was a terrible period of time in the history of our country. And they worked on it. I know the Justice Department, it's really been working on it very hard. There's been numerous other occasions over the years where things like this have been done. But these were people that were weaponized and really treated brutally by a system that was so corrupt, with corrupt people running it, and they're getting reimbursed for their legal fees and the other things that they had to suffer.
Yeah, so the Supreme Court found that the government illegally charged hundreds of J6ers with a 20-year felony, and every American should be livid about that. Now, it's weird for me to see that not every American is incensed about that. Look, guys, we watched for years how the DOJ and the FBI targeted conservatives and how they essentially went after parents who were complaining that boys were stepping into their daughters' bathrooms and they would get a visit from the FBI. But every time anything got pushed back from the conservative side, they would, the leftists would always say, "Oh, January 6th," and then we learned that grandmas who were taking a leisurely walk through the Capitol were being arrested and dragged through the court. Now, President Trump is saying, look, if these people were dragged through the courts, they spent years of their lives trying to defend themselves. They spent on lawyers' fees. There should be some restitution, because many of them, look, their lives will never be the same. And the government essentially, there was overreach, with respect to how that situation was handled. And he's coming from it from a compassionate side. However, the Democrats are coming at this from the side that this is all political. Now, here is Elizabeth Warren having a full meltdown about this announcement by President Trump.
Senator, what do you make of this $1.7 billion slush fund that Trump's proposing for pardoned fraudsters and January 6th rioters?
So let me just be clear here. When we talk about corruption, like, you kind of think you know what the general categories of corruption are. This one is just eye-popping unbelievable. The whole idea that your taxpayer dollars are going to be used to do what? To fund the guys who beat up police officers, to fund the guys who rioted to try to stop the peaceful transfer of power, or to fund anybody that Donald Trump wants to fund. Man, this is like corruption with capital letters, flashing lights, and fireworks going off. It really is. I know we use the word unbelievable, but this one's unbelievable.
Okay,
yeah, so
you bet.
Yeah, look, I'm totally in support of anyone who calls out corruption, essentially, also being held up to the same standard. So here's Elizabeth Warren being asked about her own corruption. Since she's so interested in corruption, here's the same person who is outraged that the president is trying to make people whole who were unjustifiably prosecuted with massive DOJ overreach in the works. And she's saying, oh no, there's corruption there because people who were hurt because the DOJ went too far are being compensated. Now, here she is essentially running away from the press when they're asking her about how she's gotten rich off the taxpayers she's talking about defending.
All of this fraudulent spending, what is that about? What is the problem here? What is the problem with transparency? Do not touch me. Do not touch me. Senator Warren, I just want to answer a question. How did you get a $12 million net worth on a $200,000 salary in Congress?
Thank you.
How did you do that?
Excuse me.
How did you do that? You can keep trying to block my camera. We're on a public sidewalk, so get off of me. So you don't want to answer that question. What is it about Doge that's such a problem to you? You just elbowed me, Senator. I got that on camera.
Excuse us. Thank you.
Transparency is your...
Yeah, so she's so transparent. She's upset when Americans who were hurt by the DOJ overreach are being compensated. Okay, she's calling that corruption. But when she's profiting off her access to information, to government information, she's profiting off her position in Congress. As far as she's concerned, that's not corruption. You know, so look, the hypocrisy is on full display. You know, you see it, I see it, and look, we just have to call it out whenever we see it, and look on both sides. And that's why the next story is, I wouldn't call it satisfying. It's just one of those stories that essentially aged well. And this is the story of Thomas Massie lost his re-election. All right, so this is a 12-year incumbent rhino who has voted no on everything that President Trump has put forward, who essentially teamed up with the Democrats to try to discredit the Trump administration and President Trump himself. And right now, we followed this story, starting from last week. We were looking at the scandal that broke. We talked about it, and I had my misgivings, but my own problem was this, okay? If this guy is that bad, okay, and he has all these skeletons in his cupboard, well, let's see how the elections go. And the elections didn't go too well for him. So he's been voted out, and here's the report.
It's very rare. And Laura, this sends a message to the entire Republican Party and indeed the entire country, as I was saying before, that the power of the Trump brand to motivate voters, in this instance, 12-year incumbent beaten by a newcomer because of the Trump endorsement. And I think my party would make a very big mistake underestimating the power of the Trump brand and the fact that, as you say correctly, he has not lost a primary yet. He wins Louisiana. He wins the Kentucky Senate primary, and now this key House race. So I don't think this can be overestimated, Laura.
Yeah, and
well, he said it. He said it. Just the fact that Trump backs you massively improves your odds of winning. Now, Thomas Massie, in his concession speech, made a very, a classless jab at his opponent, who clearly won. I don't know anything about his opponent, so I'm not going to say more than this. But here's what he said during his concession speech.
I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Galrein in Tel Aviv. I did get the call through, though. I have called and conceded the race. We've been honorable the whole time, and we're going to stay that way.
Okay, so Thomas Massie loses his GOP primary, so he's been primary. And that's what you do when you find people who represent you who do not vote according to your policies or your policy of choice. You have these people who claim to be conservatives, who claim to be Christian conservatives, who claim to be Republicans, and essentially all they're doing is wearing a skin suit. They're all wearing a skin suit. Thomas Massie, Lauren Boebert, Okay, I'm going to essentially say what I think of these people. It doesn't. I'm only speaking based on what I've seen. Lauren Boebert is two-faced. She's not to be trusted. Okay, she's not to be trusted. I don't, morally speaking, I don't think that anyone who is promiscuous in their sexual encounters can be trusted. I don't think, look, you can trust President Trump to to protect his brand. Okay. He's had his sexual escapades. I don't support the fact that he stepped out on his wife. I don't support any of that. But you look at his record and you're like, okay, his record with his policies have been consistent. So you look at his first term and the things that he put in place, nice. You look at his second term and the things he's putting in place, I think they're good. Okay, time will tell. And like I've said, many times, time is our friend. So a lot of people have the sentiment that Thomas Massie's defeat is good riddance. I wish Patricia was on the show because Patricia lives in Kentucky. She's been ranting and raving about Thomas Massie, for months, and finally he's out. And guess who's out as well? Okay, Mitch McConnell is out as well. And here's Mitch McConnell. Look, if I didn't see this video, I wouldn't believe it. Okay, so here's Mitch McConnell. Okay, so for the first time in, I'm going to pause this. Okay, I'll just read this lead up. For the first time in 41 years, Mitch McConnell will not be a GOP senator for Kentucky. These senators claim like, okay, Trump is trying to be a dictator. Trump is trying to rule for life. These guys literally are in office for life. This guy has been in office for 41 years. Okay, over 4 decades. Now, Andy Barr, the guy on the right, just won the GOP nomination replacing McConnell. I hope this guy isn't going to wind up to be another Thomas Massie 2.0 or Mitch McConnell 2.0. Okay, so just watch Mitch McConnell. Okay, people have been complaining for years about the fact that these people stay in office until they essentially can't function. Okay, they are there till they fossilize, and they block up a lot of things. It's essentially the deep state. The people who run their schedule, who write their speeches for them, essentially run the country. Watch this.
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
Like he literally, his computer just
Did you hear the
hangs.
question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026?
His computer literally hangs.
All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute. Senator. Benny.
It's insane.
okay.
Somebody else have a question? Please speak up.
Look, please. I'm not making fun of these people. I'm just pointing out my observation. Okay, once you begin to have cognitive decline, your family has to step in to say, look, it's time to go. People can't use you as a sock puppet. And then when people point it out, you begin to claim that they're attacking you or it's political. This guy is clearly unfit to continue to function as a senator. Somebody in his office is calling the shots or writing those letters or signing those or co-signing on those bills. He isn't there. He isn't all there. We talked about this with Joe Biden. The Democrats did it. We had one of their senators who essentially was being wheelchaired into the chamber until she eventually just died. Okay, so this happens, and of course Patricia had a lot to say about Mitch McConnell. Well, he isn't going to be he isn't going to be in the Senate anymore. Now, the honest question now, I'm reading some of the comments on this story, but guys, let me know what you think about this entire thing, because they said that the Trump brand was waning. They said that MAGA was losing ground. Well, according to the results that we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks, anyone that Trump essentially does not support gets primaried out. Okay, I think last week we had up to 10 people who were primaried out of one state. I forget the state, but it's interesting to watch that what the media tells you is happening isn't happening. And the Trump brand, the MAGA brand, is still growing strong. And like I said during the live stream we had on Sunday, what we're seeing is that Donald Trump's reach isn't just within the United States, it is reaching across the world. And people who believe that their countries can be great are taking their lead from what they've seen happening in the United States. So let me know what you think in the chat. Now, the Democrats decided to have a struggle session. Yeah, they had a struggle session. And it's on tape. Okay, so here's Gavin Newsom melting down over what's coming for Democrats in November. All right, now they are claiming that they are losing because of one thing or another, but they're not calling out the fact that they are losing because of their insane policies, their insane politics, and the fact that instead of selling a solution to the American people, they are selling fear and outrage to the American people. All they sell is Donald Trump, 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 Trump. And the chief salesman for Trump-phobia is Gavin Newsom. Have a listen.
We have to win. It's all on the line. You just got to win. I'm done winning arguments. With all due respect to the niceties, it feels good, but we're going to lose our republic. Again, the founding fathers did not live and die for this moment. I can't celebrate July 4th, the best of Roman Republic and Greek democracy, co-equal branches of government, popular sovereignty, the rule of law, not at the time where it's the rule of dawn.
See, he's still doing it.
And if it hasn't dawned on you, I remember spending 90 minutes with Trump in the Oval Office, and I think he honestly thought everything was his. He was showing me the declaration, his declaration. It's a prize, White House, a corruption story happening on our watch.
So while you're talking about corruption, Gavin, when is the high-speed rail going to be finished? Okay, please, inquiring minds want to know. Now, when Democrats lose the arguments, they consistently blame the system. Oh, it's the system. We need to rewrite the Constitution because it's not true to, it's not helping our democracy. Okay, so that's what they always do. Now, what he says about Donald Trump walking around talking as if the White House or the stuff in the White House is his, it is. As long as he is the president, as long as he is standing in that office of the commander-in-chief, they are his. They stop being his when he leaves office. That's the way it's always been. Obama did it. Everyone does it. Democrats are more prone to doing that because I saw a report a while back where in the 80s a Democrat president won, and some of the people who were in the crowd overheard Democrats talking about the jets that were flying over during the swearing in ceremony of the new president. They pointed up and says, those are our jets now. Democrats feel like the country belongs to them. So whenever someone else wins, they feel like they lost something. And I think that's a bad attitude to have, because it's everyone's country. The country belongs to the American people. Okay, the country belongs to the American people. The Democrats essentially they are projecting the thing that they are really thinking, the way they see things. The way they see things, they see that they think the White House belongs to them. And when they see someone else from a different party in the White House, they go, oh, he thinks it's his. Yeah, that's because Democrats always think that anything that they win belongs to them for life. Okay, and how dare the Republicans win anything? Well, Gavin Newsom wasn't the only one having a struggle session. You had Spanberger, okay, the Virginia Democrat governor, saying this.
Heard it first here. Tomorrow I'll be issuing an executive order. So, surprise, sorry to my comms team on this one.
Let it out, Governor, let it out.
In ensuring that we are putting out from the state level some guidance across public spaces, including polling places, of how Virginia state employees or people who are working in support of Virginia's state-run elections can react to, in this particular case, federal agents who might be appearing at a location and where the worry is that they're principally there to intimidate or scare people.
So she's saying whenever they're having state elections, they will essentially write an executive order banning federal agents to show up during state elections. Now that's, I don't know, guys, let me know in the comments or in the chat if you see federal agents showing up and intimidating people during state elections. It doesn't happen. But you know what? Democrats want everyone to believe that it's happening. I said this is a struggle session. They're just coming up to, look, all they're doing right now is that they're astroturfing the fact that if they lose the midterms, it was Donald Trump's fault. It was voter intimidation. That's all they're trying to do. And look, we see it, okay? You didn't read for your test, and then you show up in class the next day and claim that that the teacher hates you, that the teacher hates your guts. That's astroturfing your failure. Okay, that's what the Democrats are trying to do right now. And look, they are free to do and say whatever they want to, do and say, as long as in the end things are done properly. If the elections are truly free and fair and the Democrats win, that's fine. It's on the Republicans for not showing up to vote. If the elections are free and fair and the Republicans win, then the Republicans won. But what do we have the Democrats doing whenever the Republicans win? They throw a tantrum. And here's Mayor Fry, the mayor who hangs out with Somalis and tries to eat Somali food in order to win elections. Yeah, that guy. Here's what he has to say.
ICE is not just the federal police force that he's developed. It is his. And there's a historical analog here, which is the SS. The SS was unaccountable to the parliament. They answered only to Hitler. ICE also, once they get the funding and have these massive increases to the extent that it's larger than the FBI, they largely don't need approvals from the congressional body. It is very much Donald Trump's force.
Well, do you know why they have to be larger than the FBI? Because they need to remove over 20, okay, let me use the conservative figures that have been released. They need to deport over 10 million illegal aliens that your party allowed to break into the United States. In fact, your party invited them into the United States to come in without being vetted, without going through due process, the immigration due process, and you all celebrated it. And so now, in order to clean up your mess, this administration has to build a bigger vacuum cleaner, and you're complaining about it and claiming that, oh, it's it's getting bigger than the FBI. The FBI was created to police crime committed on American soil. And I think they also invest, their reach also goes international as well. But when you're trying to capture and deport over 10 million criminals because they broke into the country illegally, they broke the law, it's a crime, so they are criminals. If you're trying to find 10 million criminals, you need a large enough force to find 10 million criminals. Mayor Fry, okay? And then there's this thing where they call ICE, the SS. They're still doing it. They're still calling President Trump, his administration, conservatives, voters like you and conservatives like me. They're calling us Nazis. They haven't learned. Look, when the shooting happened a month back, I said, look, these people are not going to learn their lesson. They're going to mewl and squeal about it being President Trump's fault that they say these things and that they are essentially labeling conservatives and Trump and his administration as Nazis. They claim that they never called Trump Nazis. They never did that, but they say things like this that essentially is like, call him a Nazi without calling him a Nazi. Okay. Well, their struggle session is ongoing, but you know what? Where the real battle is at the polling booth. So if you want these guys to continue to win and run your country, be my guest. So we have the Democrats going through their struggle session, and that's fine. But there's a story that I want to touch, and we'll just touch that story real quick. Okay, there's a story that is breaking about a MAGA patriot in Pennsylvania who is getting a lot of eyeballs. He's getting a lot of support because he quit his bus driving job because he was ordered to take the Make America Great Again hat. Let's watch this.
Is this hat worth the heartache?
To me it is. If that wasn't a condition of my employment, I'd be back to work tomorrow. I miss the kids. Those kids and I had a great relationship.
But a complaint from one of Mr. Dave's Bus 73 students about his Make America Great Again hat has brought that relationship to a screeching halt.
I get a phone call from my boss at Christ Transportation. And she contacts me and says, hey, listen, I'm going to buy you a hat, an American flag hat, because the school district has deemed that they don't want you to wear the Make America Great Again hat.
Dave Bonhoff, a retired Baltimore County police officer turned Littlestown area school bus driver, says he chose to walk away before afternoon drop-off, claiming the district and Christ Transportation violated his freedom of speech.
There's nothing in this hat that says anything about partisanship.
What do you say to people who may argue that the hat is pretty synonymous with President Donald Trump, a political figure?
I would say that they're incorrect. I would say that making America great is what we should all strive to be. Anybody who doesn't want America to prosper, I take issue with them.
Al Moyer, Littlestown area's superintendent of schools, clarified over the phone that Bonhoff was an employee of Christ Transportation, not the district. But that
so these sort of stories continue to come out. And it's always leftists, people who vote a certain way, who have a certain worldview, who kick against Christian values, that bellyache about the symbols that conservatives wear. Leftists will want you to believe that it's okay for pornographic material to be read in K through high school. They support all of that. I saw a video recently, I'm not going to talk about that video, but you and I have come across all these videos where they literally want Christianity to be stamped out. They don't say it overtly, but whenever you watch their policies are just grandstanding all of these things that they want to accomplish. And that's why personally I have an issue with politicians who claim that they represent conservative Christian values, not living a conservative Christian lifestyle. So they're essentially just a meat puppet. Okay, they're not a meat puppet. They are wearing the skin suit of a conservative Christian political position, while essentially just being heathen. And they're just, what they do is just expedient. They want to appear to be Christian because it's expedient to appear to be Christian. So the leftists continue to melt down whenever we show our symbology. Okay, you have the 10 Commandments outside of schools, outside of courthouses, outside of government buildings. This is the foundation of jurisprudence. For a lot of Western countries, you hate it because it's triggering people who are not Christians. And so bloody what? I would say it is not essentially a Christian tenet. Okay, it's a Jewish tenet. The Christian tenet is you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your might, and all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, the 10 Commandments is essentially the foundation of the Jewish jurisprudence. So let's call it what it is. It's anti-Semitic. Maybe if we start playing the same games that these people play, maybe it's going to make them think twice. But you know what? They keep changing the rules. Once you begin to play the same games they play, they call it something else. For example, gerrymandering. Blue cities and states have gerrymandered for decades. California is so gerrymandered that it is almost impossible for any Republican to win. Illinois, the same thing. They're all gerrymandered. Barack Obama celebrated the gerrymandering that was about to happen in Virginia until the Supreme Court shut it down. Then he switched and claimed that, the fact that Republicans are gerrymandering is so bad. Texas decided to gerrymander, and it's racist. But Democrats were the ones who were gerrymandering along racial lines. They said it out loud, and the people who aren't gerrymandering along racial lines are the racists. Oh, guys, this is just upside down world. It's insane. But like I said, whenever you try to use the rules against them and you're winning, they start calling you names. They turn around and say, "Oh, you're racist. Oh, you're a bigot. Oh, you're this or the other," simply because you're winning. MAGA won. That's why they are they are belly aching and they're so hurt.
That it was the district's belief that, quote, school districts need to be neutral on sensitive issues. In a statement, Christ Transportation denied giving Bonhoeff any ultimatums over the hat, but says it does have a dress code policy, which says, quote, any item of apparel with text or graphics deemed inappropriate by management, including political sentiments, are prohibited.
I want to be able to express myself. I don't want somebody to tell me, well, my feelings are hurt. You got to take that hat off.
And that was Maxine Rose reporting on that. We'll hear more from her later on in our show. And
all right, so look, we're going to keep seeing stuff like this. It's not stopping. The genie is out of the bottle. It's not going to stop. We're going to continue to hear stories like this. It's unfortunate, but that is where we are as a civilization, if you can call what the Democrats are trying to do to the world civilized. Now, this hearing exploded, okay? The Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, demolished the insufferable Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and It was glorious. Let's have a look.
It is a wonderful thing, but your vacation was paid for by Boeing, Toyota, United Airlines, Enterprise, Shell, Royal Caribbean Group, all
Senator,
organizations and companies.
Do you want me to respond to you? Can I respond?
So she thinks that she's on a roll. She thinks that she's gotten the soundbite that's going to add to the Trump administration is corrupt soundbite. But she didn't know that she just opened up a can of worms that she wished had stayed shut. Let's go.
Do you have jurisdiction over law firms? So you received $7 million in political contributions from the trial bar.
Honestly, this has nothing to do with members of Congress. This has to do with the fact that you went on a paid vacation that was paid by companies that you oversee.
You received $7 million from the trial bar. You have jurisdiction.
Different.
You have jurisdiction on the trial bar. $7 million. When we go down the list of what else you received, you have jurisdiction.
Listen,
you actually passed
Secretary
legislation for the
Duffy,
trial bar.
this
So don't give me
hearing
that.
is about you
I didn't make any
and
money.
this administration.
No, it's about you. I didn't make any money.
This hearing,
I
you
didn't
are the
make any
witness.
money.
I am not the
didn't make-
witness.
I don't have any. Well, maybe you should be.
Well, you know
maybe
what?
You should answer the
Secretary
American people
Duffy,
for $7 million
Secretary
from the trial
Duffy,
bar.
Secretary
Senator,
Duffy,
$7 million.
I think you should be
That
telling
goes in
this
state
committee
dinners. That goes to
why
put your ad on television. That's all to you. You spend that money.
this is what I'm concerned about.
Steak dinners,
You are
please.
political and you are
We're
using
over
your
our
position in
time right
political
now.
ways.
$500,000 paid by the trial bar to fly you on a private jet.
Jeez.
I've never been on a private jet.
Zen Air.
I don't.
Zen Air?
Never been on a private jet. No, we don't.
$462,000.
The Secretary of Transportation is telling you were on a private jet. He has the data.
We don't. Members of
So
Congress
they pay
aren't
for you to
allowed.
fly on a yes, senators
Not
can.
true.
It is.
Not true.
Answer to that.
You know what, Mr.
I made
Secretary?
nothing.
Your job.
They put your face on television.
Your
face
job.
on television, your steak dinners, your vacations by the trial bar. I make
We're going to
nothing
go to
on this.
Senator
No money.
Capito. Recognize you for your.
Okay, so the people who are screaming the Trump administration is corrupt hate it whenever you bring the receipts showing that they are corrupt. It's just crazy. Focus on running the country so that Americans can have a better life. Get the illegal aliens out, jail the criminals, send the insane back to the asylum, and put corrupt politicians in jail. Is that too much to ask? I guess it is. Especially when it comes from the ladies of The View, who are the epitome of common sense and wisdom as far as the left is concerned. So Trump had a press conference yesterday, and we even had Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban was viscerally opposed to President Trump even throughout the 2024 election campaign cycle. He said a lot of crazy things about Trump. He fully supported Kamala Harris, and that was fine. It was his prerogative to support anyone he wants to support, and that's the opinion I have. If you want to support someone who has leftist crazy policies, have fun. I have family members who support Democrat policies. I don't send them text messages every day asking them, why they're doing it. I believe that they are intelligent people and they are making their decisions based on the evidence that they believe they have. They try talking to me, and when I try to show them my evidence, they run away. So I don't bother approaching them and trying to change their mind. But when you come to me and try to change my mind and I give you my evidence and you can't stand it and you run away, it shows me that, well, maybe you should begin to take a second look at your position, because it seems like your arguments can't stand up to my arguments. Now, The View essentially is claiming that the Trump RX portal or website that essentially is designed to reduce the cost of drugs drastically reduce the cost of drugs because Americans will be able to buy them at close to costs, is going to kill Americans. Have a listen.
Okay.
First of all, you lie down with dogs, you wake up with fleas. All right, that's number one. And you know, I like Mark Cuban. I've always liked him, but this is a mistake. And once Trump puts his name on prescriptions, we're all going to die. Okay? Yeah. He put his name on the Trump shuttle, the Trump vodka, the Trump University, the Trump hotel, Trump steaks and my favorite, the casinos that all went bankrupt. Yeah.
Trump has 494 other businesses. Okay, so please name all the other 494 businesses while you're at it. Okay, don't just cherry pick 6 that were shut down. If you've ever run a business, if you've ever tried to open a business, you know how hard it is. This man has had over 500 businesses. And then these women who spent their whole lives reading from a teleprompter or reading a script are trying to teach a guy who built businesses his entire life and trying to make it sound like he's incompetent and doesn't know what he's doing. Come on, give me a break.
Yeah. The drugs do not go there.
The drugs
Mark.
don't actually have his name. They're existing drugs.
Whatever.
It's a
If he's
marketplace
involved with it.
No, I literally a medication that I had to take for IVF is a 1/10 of the price on Trump RX. I don't, whatever. It's tacky that his name is on it. Mark Cuban has dedicated his life to bringing down prescription drug costs. The average family, 1/3 of Americans cut back on essential foods and utilities to be able to cover their prescription drug costs. You're not going to convince me that just because Trump's involved, we should be like, screw it, don't bring down prescription drug costs.
If he's going to make a profit out of it, don't take it.
I completely agree with that.
Americans are struggling.
All right, to start with, how is Trump making a profit off it? This is a Department of Health initiative, and they decided to call it Trump RX, as per the press conference that they had when they launched it. I watched the press conference. They said they chose the name. Trump didn't say you have to call it that. If they're lying, okay, then fine, we're misinformed. But they said that they were the ones who picked it. Because you know what? They know that the Trump brand wins. The rhinos who went against Trump found out that that's the case. If you go against Trump, he will beat you every single time. The Trump brand wins. And so they said, hey, let's call it Trump RX, because he's one president who has done what a lot of other presidents said they were going to do, but never did. They never did it. He does it, and everyone is freaking out and saying, well, if he's behind it, oh, everyone is going to die who uses it. Do you remember what happened during COVID? Even though, look, I don't agree with the whole thing. I don't. But during COVID, he had Operation Lightspeed to get a vaccine against the COVID virus in a short period so that people could get it who needed it. When he was in office, all the Democrats claimed if this is released, no one should take it. It's dangerous. It's going to kill you. They succeeded at creating that vaccine. Then they held it back until Biden was in office. Then they released it, and guess what the Democrats did? Oh, you have to take the vaccine. If you don't take it, grandma will die. You're evil if you don't take this vaccine. This happened just 5 years ago. It's not been too long ago since this happened. So, look, you can't convince me that these guys aren't just lying through their teeth, finding one way or another to contradict anything that Trump tries to do to help the American people.
No, he is a failed businessman. And if you heard what he said, we both want to make people wealthy. He didn't say
So
healthy.
I should pay 10 times more
he
for
said
my
wealthy, which
medication.
means to me that there's something in it for him. This is not a well-intentioned
The presidency
person.
is something he cashes in on, Sonny, but what this does is it helps
Sarah, he
American
is not a
people.
well-intentioned person. He is not doing this from the out of
You
the
guys are
goodness of his
naive.
heart.
Nobody thinks
Doing
he's-
this to make money.
No one thinks he's doing
Joy,
it out of
we're
the
the
goodness of
wealthiest
his
country
heart.
and we pay the most for drugs.
could be
The people
shortcuts
that are
involved.
literally suffering illnesses and cannot pay for their medicine, I can't think of a sicker business model. Bring down the prices, and if you're going to get results on this, call it Donald Trump medicine. I don't care what you call it.
There are countries all over this world, especially in Scandinavia, that have national health insurance.
Correct.
They do
Yeah,
not
they're
want to
smaller
have
than
that.
New
That
Jersey,
would bring
like
down the
America.
cost of drugs and health care.
But in the
they don't want that.
They have
call that
concepts of a
socialism.
plan, Joy,
Okay,
and
but
right now this is a
You
plan.
are so
I'm going to go with
naive,
it.
the two
In
of
the
you.
meantime,
Wow.
you're saying
So people in those countries still fly to the United States because the waiting list when you try to use those services is insane. There are people who need life-saving procedures, and they're on a 2-year waiting list. 2 years. 2 years. So when these people say these things that clearly exposes their ignorance, it just makes me shake my head, and I'm like, well, you're proving to me yet again that no one should trust anything you say.
So naive.
You're saying, if I may speak, so you're saying that in the meantime, while he remains in office for the next 2 years, people should just not have access to cheaper drugs because Trump put his name on it?
Anything he touches is tainted. I don't trust it.
Today, I can literally order a prescription drug that I need for a tenth of the cost because of this, and it's not
Don't
just giving
believe
Trump credit.
anything he says,
It's
Alyssa.
real. Go look it up. It is right there. I can get Follistim.
Yeah, so these, Democrats always claim that conservatives are in a cult. It's been my experience that people who simply blindly listen to and believe what the left says are the ones in a cult because they don't think for themselves. Now, what I would say is if in 2 years it turns out that there's something fishy about this, we call it out. Well, the track record of Trump from his first administration and from the things that he's done so far, it's been working. And in spite of his track record, these people want you to believe that this is a failure, or this is a rigged system, or this is something that is selling subpar medication to Americans. They don't see any way but down for any policy that Trump is running. And that is a dishonest position to take, in my opinion. It's dishonest. You can't have a good faith conversation with people like this who don't see anything good about what President Trump is doing. And that's unfortunate. That's sad. I'm not saying if he genuinely, legitimately messes up, you don't call him out. No, you do that. These are the people who essentially attack anyone who called out Joe Biden's mental decline. They would attack you if you mention that this man should not be in office. He's too old, he's frail, he's falling up the stairs. They would attack you for doing it. These are the guys who you're supposed to trust now when you're seeing things work. And then they're telling you that, well, it's not really working. If you actually use this, it's going to destroy you. These are the guys you want to trust? Well, do you know what? I'm grateful to them because they provide content. They provide content for, the stupidity and the insanity that they put on record. Because look, you can go back 5 years, you can go back 15 years, and you can see how they have slowly devolved into insanity and partisanship. Okay, Joy Behar welcomed President Trump years ago, said, "Welcome, my friend." And then all of a sudden, she got the note from the higher-ups, and he stopped being her friend and became the Antichrist. So it's sad. Okay, it's sad to watch, but then again, just call it out. And this is where I'll leave you. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and if you're watching this in the chat, what are your thoughts about the announcement of the restitution for those who were wrongfully prosecuted by the Biden DOJ? What do you think about Elizabeth Warren's hypocrisy that was captured? We showed it to you. She's claiming that there's corruption while she herself is benefiting from her corruption. And then the Thomas Massie situation where he essentially lost. We did call it that he was in trouble, and it was clear that he was, but he actually lost the election after being a 12-year incumbent. That's crazy. He did lose. And everything else we covered. Let's know your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back again tomorrow. Have a great night, and we'll catch you on the next one.